Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, Holiday Inn Express, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn, Russell Street Report, the original Green Turtle, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
In April 1959, Art Wall won the Masters, edging out Carey Middlecoff and Arnold Palmer by finishing birdie, 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 par birdie. 1 month later, Ocean City Golf Club celebrated the opening of their first 18 holes. That course has been transformed now into one of the most scenic golf layouts on the East Coast. Come experience 36 of the most beautiful and challenging holes you'll find anywhere. Ocean City Golf Club in Ocean City, Maryland.
Another installment of the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach. We are broadcasting from the Blue Ox Bar and Grill, specifically the Ravens Room here, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City, with a packed crowd of Ravensers 44. Give yourselves a big hand. It is week number 3 in the NFL, and for your Baltimore Ravens coming up, we're going to recap that really tough 24-23 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to talk news and notes. We'll also recap the other games in the AFC North, and we'll preview the upcoming game, big Sunday night game against the New England Patriots. That is Sunday Night Football on NBC, and of course here on Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach. All right, the Ravens Wrap Show is brought to you by our friends, of course, here at the Blue Ox Bar and Grill, our friends at Geico, Bud Light, the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, the Ocean City Golf Club, the Holiday Inn Express, and welcome back, jctickets.net. And we've got an announcement coming up about jctickets.net and some really good giveaways that we have, but you got to be here for the show to be able to get tickets and give yourself a chance at winning. So details coming up in the program. I'm Mike Bradley from 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. To my left, Ravensers 44 guest host Steve Slaza. Steve, welcome back. And also OC local, former Lehigh College player John Garrett. John, welcome back. How are you? And he's finally with the right wardrobe. Finally with the right wardrobe. So pretty much, he's got the Ravens logo. He's got the black on. So he's uniform finally.
I'm just a conformist.
Yeah. We had to bring you in from left field.
You wore me out.
Guys, there is so much to talk to with this game. The Ravens visiting Philadelphia. Of course, John Harbaugh, his career to get to the head coaching spot, his career was made on special teams and as a secondary coach for 1 year with the Philadelphia Eagles. So he went back to the city that he's very familiar with and a team he's very familiar with, and a head coach in Andy Reid, who he coached under. Guys, I guess let's get to it first on the offensive end. You know, you go into halftime leading 17-7. Justin Tucker with a huge kick right at the end of the first half, and that's another topic we'll talk about later on. You got to feel really good. The offense moved the ball. The pass set up the run. Ray Rice was gashing him in the run game, 7 for 78. Joe was looking good. I think it was something like 14 of 18. And then the wheels fell apart in the second half, but it was really a tale of two halves there offensively.
It really was. And that's the thing to me that once I got to the point where I could talk this morning, I said, you're up by 10. Just ran the ball. First drive, scored a touchdown, 17 points. They're not going to come back from it. But we just didn't make any halftime adjustments, which I can understand, because everything you were doing in the first half was working. But the problem was they adjusted to it, and they were able to stop what we were doing. And, like we were talking earlier, they were able to jam our receivers on the line, and we were not able to get downfield on them. So, therefore the second half was very frustrating.
Joe Flacco, 14 of 17 in the first half, 92 yards, a touchdown. Looking really good. The offensive line was holding up fairly well, considering the ferocious pass rush that Philadelphia can put on teams and depth there at the pass rushing spot. Just wow. I mean, the first half, second half, again, quite a difference.
Well, I mean, Steve, you hit on it a little bit there. The Eagles came out and made the adjustments, and we didn't adjust to the adjustments. And really, what happens if you play on offense, if you're actually on the field and play on the offensive side of the ball, even receivers know that there's a point when you know you're going to when you're dominating the other team. is when you can impose your will and run it right down their throats. So it's not catching the ball. You know, we have this shiny new toy mentality. We had it a little bit last year, and it's like, let's unveil Joe Flacco, all right, and just throw the ball. Remember last year we saw the same thing early in the season. We're going to throw the ball 50 plus times. And here in the middle of the second quarter, we're up 14-7, I believe. After a bad punt, we get the ball on our own 45-yard line, and we are just, up to that point, just starting to impose our will in the running game. I mean, the offensive line, Mike, like you said, was just completely dominant in the run game. You never see defensive linemen in the NFL getting moved backwards. You know, like, and these guys were getting blown off the ball. And for the Vontae Leach's touchdown, 10 yards off the ball, Osemele and Yanda, I mean, they were just completely destroying a stout group of defensive linemen. And then we stopped running the ball. I mean, sure, they were bumping us at the line of scrimmage, but we should have been running it down our throats. That shouldn't have mattered, really. And we'll get into it more. But when you dominate by just driving the ball down the field in the running game, wearing them out, getting them frustrated, and jamming it down their throat, and we stopped doing it.
I guess something we heard from John Harbaugh in the offseason, guys, is that even though we've got more explosive players, especially wide receiver, and we talked about that a lot the first couple of weeks here of the program this season, did not necessarily mean that we were going to throw the ball 40 or 50 times a game. Joe Flacco throws the ball 42 times in this one. He said, hey, we'll still have, I think, relative balance, although probably a little bit more pass than run. But 42 passes probably not where you want to be if you're a Ravens offense, not when you have Ray Rice and not with the domination. And we saw last year with Philly, one of the weaknesses, yeah, they're a great pass rushing team, but they were beat physically in the run game. And I thought, honestly, in this game, that we would almost maybe run the ball more than we were going to throw.
Well, I think you saw the downside of the no-huddle offense. You know, it was great. And I also think you got a false look at it because there was no scouting. You know, the first game is do whatever you want because nobody's got film of it, especially when you have a new offense. Nobody knew what we were going to do. Well, Andy Reid watched film, and he knew exactly what we were going to do, and he took it away. You know, the downside of the no-huddle offense is it puts your defense on the field. The whole second half, our defense was on the field. You know, and if for no other reason than to keep your defense off the field, we had to run the ball, and we didn't. You know, we just did 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And, you know, our defense, give them credit. They were a lot tougher than they were in the first game. And, you know, the outside linebackers, I thought McClellan and Upshaw, you know, people don't realize Kruger didn't play in that game. I thought those guys really played well up until midway through the fourth quarter. And then they got tired. And then, you know, Philly was able to eke it out in the end. But, you know, that was the downside of a no-huddle offense is that, you know, the defense gets to be on the field a lot.
Well, and guys, I think one of the things with Torrey Smith, for instance, is I think he does have trouble at times getting off press coverage against better corners. And Aaron Wilson from the Baltimore Sun asked John Harbaugh about the press coverage and said, you know, we're going to have to find a way to beat some of this stuff without getting into specifics because I probably can. He's not going to let the other teams know. But there are some issues that we're going to have to deal with and we're going to have to overcome. So I think in a way he's saying, hey, we've got some receivers that are going to have to work on getting off of press coverage. Torrey Smith, maybe some of the tight ends with Dixon and Pitta, and even Bolden. Anquan Bolden struggled a little bit. And hey, maybe with the refs too, you know, teams are getting away with a lot more, and that's another thing we could talk about as well. Very, very physical, maybe more so than they would with the regular refs. But they had issues outside of Jacoby Jones. Not a whole lot of people are getting open off of press coverage, so we can look at Joe and say, yeah, that second half he was not accurate, and he's partly to blame. But the receivers also weren't getting open.
Well, I mean, this is the strength of the Eagles' defense. I mean, so when you have, you know, part of any game is attacking the other team's weakness, not their strength. And just because we want to throw the ball and run our no-huddle, little muddle huddle or whatever offense.
Sugar huddle.
Yeah, right. I mean, that doesn't mean that's the proper strategy. I think we saw that. And, you know, when Ray Rice doesn't touch the ball in the running game, you know, or maybe at all for almost a quarter, I mean, that's a major, major problem. He's one of the elite players in all the league. So, you know, when you're playing good teams, especially on the road, and in any game, you need to capitalize on the mistakes. A lot of times a game comes down to not who wins it, but who loses it. And when the Eagles drive, and we said this in the keys of the game last week, was the Eagles would drive the ball on us. And we could not give up big plays, and we needed to hold them to field goals. Well, we didn't have to hold them to field goals. They were just giving us the ball in the red zone. And we could not You know, we just couldn't capitalize on their mistakes, and we bailed them out, basically.
Yeah, you look in the second half, guys. Ray Rice 9 for 21 in terms of rushing in the second half. So when you were 7 for, he still ended up with a 6.2 average. But I think by that time, when we did run the ball, it was a little obvious when we did, and they were able to stop that. But you know, you look at some of these numbers as well, and it just baffles you. You know, four turnovers. I mean, here the Eagles now 9 turnovers in the first 2 games, and they're 2-0. That's very rare for a team to be able to pull that off.
I tell you, this is a weird game because really the Ravens are really lucky we didn't get blown out.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have been blown out of this one. And then at the same time, you know, in the middle of the second quarter, it felt like we were getting ready to completely take over the game, especially in the running game. When that Vontae Leach touch, there's just something that happens when you get completely manhandled. Both on an offensive and a defensive line. You know, it's a toughness. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just you walk out, it's confidence, it's a swagger, it's, you know, I could give some locker room talk right now, but I guess I can't do that. But I mean, there's swagger that happens, and the other side knows that you've got the mojo. And we just didn't capitalize on the mojo. I just don't understand that. Never will. We discussed the same thing last year that we're discussing this year. It's the same old thing. We thought Joe was going to be the man last year at this time of the season, throwing it 50-plus times. He wasn't. We need Ray Rice, elite player, give him the ball.
Well, and to be fair, Steve, I mean, I think if we run the ball more in the second half, that might have opened some things up for Joe. That would have helped out the passing game, you know, at the same time.
I think that's true, and I just also, you know, something you said. I mean, where were the turnovers? You know, Philadelphia, their first interception they threw was in the end zone. The next one was at the 9, that are 25 at our 27. I mean, so, you know, bottom line, they at least would have gotten 12 points out of it. Say they got 2 touchdowns, you know, it would have been a very different game. But, you know, that's what I said to you when I was talking about the middle of the field. We just didn't use the middle of the field. I mean, our tight end had 8 catches for 65 yards. Theirs had 8 for 157. I mean, that's a 92-yard difference. You know, that is using the middle of the field. And, you know, when you look at it, I mean, we're just not, and you talked about last week, the week before, was just, you know, our route tree is not complete. You know, we're not doing down and outs. We're not doing button hooks. We're not doing comebacks. You know, we're not using the middle of the field at all. The only thing we do is a dump off to either a back or a tight end in the middle of the field. And, you know, teams know that, and they play it.
Well, I think part of, the reason, too, in terms of getting rid of the ball, and guys, we got about 45 seconds, getting rid of the ball quickly, though, against Philadelphia is, hey, those pass rushers are going to get after you. And so, you know, I think to some extent with a game plan, you have to adjust the routes to being shorter, per se, because, you know, Babin and Cullen and those guys are going to get after you.
Attack
Trent
them.
Cole.
You know, if they're going to come off the edge, you attack them. You replace them. So if they're going to come hard off the edge, you replace. Screen passes do that. You can run right at those people.
Some draws.
Yeah, that's exactly. Sometimes you don't even need to block those guys. So we'll talk more about it. There were some good things. Justin Tucker, laser.
Yeah. And guys, I will say this too, though. To some extent, even though I thought we should have run the ball more in the second half, I do applaud the Ravens for continuing to be aggressive. You can't sit on a 17-7 lead with all the weapons the Philadelphia Eagles have on offense. More of the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show coming your way next on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach.
Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, Holiday Inn Express, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn, Russell Street Report, the original Green Turtle, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
Welcome to the Comfort Inn Gold Coast. Conveniently located just 1 block from the beach and adjacent to shopping at the Gold Coast Mall and the movie theater. Newly renovated and open year-round with a marvelous bayfront view. Visit us on the web at comfortgoldcoast.com and see our hot deals and great golf packages, or simply call our direct reservation line to plan your stay.